First of all, it's a huge historical event that unfolded last year after 16 years of a fascist regime to be deposed by the mass uprising. And many of the historians of the land has said there has been no such event in the last 100 years of history of not only Bangladesh but the Bengal, if I may add, to the part of the Indian West Bengal and the other Bengali-speaking region. So certainly, it's a huge event that has been happening over the months and ended in July and August. What we expected to have been followed through. One is about the crisis that could have been unfolded afterwards. Is about famine, because the loot and plunder happened on a biblical scale over the last 16 years is massive. What the investigation of the economists and the other researchers found out, over $234 billion US dollar had been looted out, laundered overseas. Yet a country like Bangladesh, a developing nation where 70-80% of the people lives under the poverty line, we did not face any famine type situation. People in this country are not going that hungry that should have been expected. Like we've seen the crisis in the Middle East and the African and the South American nations. And the second worst case scenario could have happened is about civil war. You can imagine the kind of situation happened after 16 years of a fascist regime. All the institutions of the state have been crippled and captured by a single family, a single woman, the Lady Hitler, if I may say, and a single political party, and which has nothing to do, no legitimacy from the people at all. So obviously, when such institutional reforms has been challenged, the fascist systems has been challenged, one inevitable reality could have been followed through is a civil war, which I've seen in many of the Middle Eastern countries, in the South American and African nations. It didn't happen. So who to give the credit to? Well, political parties, the stakeholders, interim administrations, and of course the people who have been part of the uprising. So it's a huge success that a country of that situation did not fall through any famine or a financial crisis or any civil war. Does it mean necessarily that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve? Because after the fall of a regime of this kind, aspiration is like the ocean, it's like the mountain, Himalayan like peak to be fall through. So that aspiration is there, no doubt about it. But what the interim administration, the political parties, and the other stakeholders have been doing, trying their best to put the train back on this way, on the line. So that is we have been seeing through. It doesn't mean that things we wanted to achieve has been achieved, because all the state institutions have been broken into pieces. There is no institutions that is suitable now to function and deliver to the services required of. So here's the challenge for, say, law enforcement agencies, intelligence agencies, our armed forces, our civil bureaucracy, our military bureaucracy, every institution you can name it, is simply into pieces. So it doesn't fall into the statecraft that is required of. So there we are now trying, the interim administration is trying to build it again. It's a nation broken into ashes, basically.
But there is a fact that people's expectation normally to the political parties that when the regime of Sheikh Hasina was going on, the big political parties would do something, but that was not possible. And after huge bloods and sacrifice of the students and youth of the country, the change has been done. And people are expecting a peaceful environment, a fair environment for election, peaceful election. But now, after that change, political parties are not working together. They are in discourse. So, as a politician, how do you feel it?
Well, certainly there are challenges, no doubt about it, because the country hasn't seen a credible, free, fair, participatory election since 2001. So our state institutions, including the election commission, simply doesn't know how to conduct a free, fair election. Our whole nation's forgotten. People of the age of 40, 41, too had never voted in. So you can imagine the extent of the crisis that we are in. So therefore, to build it through, to take the that the slippery slope back to the where we are in 2001 is a huge mammoth task. So simply that cannot be expected of to be sorted out in 10 months or 11 months or for another year and a half and kind of situations. What has been going on now, there is a consensus commission been formed by the interim administration. What they're doing is basically seeking consultation from the political parties, from the stakeholders, had met up on different levels and sought basically the reform propositions from the different sectors of the country. So it is very critical that we listen to and form a consensus based opinion that what needs to be done after the interim administration gone, including the reformation of the institutions, how the election commission should be sorted out, how the power should be balanced between the prime minister and the president, how the parliament should be working through, what are the things needs to be done, what we are calling the July Charter, the revolutionary or the mass uprising charter. That is also critical for the future government and the political parties to look through and act upon. Now, of course, there are challenges at the moment. Political parties, the way the people expected them to behave, are not behaving well. There are issues which simply you cannot resolve over 10 months. The characteristics of a nation and the people simply cannot be changed because there is an uprising happened last year, and since 10 months, we should have all been turned from devil into angel. It's simply not possible. What is required of whether the people understands what needs to be done, whether the people are concerned, whether the people are conscious and vigilant. You see what happened in different places. Students, people came out for last few days to protest. This is one of the things we haven't seen in last 16 years. There has been a massive silence among the population. Whatever happened to the nation, whatever Hasina regime had done, there is no protest. There is no participation, there is no engagement, vigilance from the general people. But what now we are seeing, there is a huge protest, anger, frustration coming out to the street, and there is a nobody beyond criticism at the moment. Everything and everybody, every leader and every political party is under scrutiny. That's a huge achievement that to me, if we can carry
for a
it through,
democratic country.
if we can carry it through, these are the values basically built in to turn the society into a democratic one. It's a long journey. Britain, the way we see it now, it had a 400 plus years of practiced democracy. So America, since 1776, they are practicing democracy. So we are a nascent nation. We are still to go that far. But our aspiration is there. Our youths, our revolutionary youths are there on the street. They're vigilant. People are far more concerned and conscious what happened last and what's going on now. And they're ready to take part in this street movement.
There are some criticisms from the different quarters that this government, interim government, is committing that they would place a free, fair, participatory election before the nation. But they are claiming that, probably, or other people claiming that keeping a big political party out of the electoral race, how a participatory election can be ensured?
Well, I think the big question is, I think any European friends and the Western friends should answer whether the Nazi party should have been taken part into election after 1945, when the war was over, when the fascistas of Italy should have been allowed to take part in the election in Italy after the fall of the regime in 1945. These are the big question, whether any fascist political party should be allowed after they have been fallen from the government to be participatory, to take part in any participatory election. To us, what has been done by our Milik, Jatiyo Party and the other mafia cartels, the nation does not consider them as political parties. If a mafia, Sicilian mafias wants to be acknowledged as a political party, if a South American drug cartel wants the nation to be accepted as a political party, that's a far cry for a democratic movement. What happened, 1,400 people have given blood to, what happened, the vast genocide and the massacres of the nation had ever seen, should not be compared to a fascist juntas to equate it into a political entity. They are not a political entity. A political entity and the party cannot deprive a nation of 3 participatory elections. A political party cannot rule without public consent for 16 years. A political party cannot allow its oligarchs to rule and plunder and loot billions of dollars outside the country. A political party cannot allow extrajudicial killings, disappearance, enforced disappearance, and the secret detention center of 800 in different places. A political party cannot fall within the definition when they commit and breach every conventions of the civil political rights, every fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution. So we do not consider the fallen regime as a valid political entity. Therefore, they are equated with the Nazis and the fascists and cannot be guaranteed of any civil political rights under the International Convention.